My neighbor stole my shoveled parking spot. He didn't know he parked in front of a fire hydrant. I watched the red taillights of the tow truck fade into the swirling white void of the blizzard, dragging $80,000 of British engineering behind it like a dead sled dog. The crunch of the tires on the fresh powder was the only sound left on the street, that and the wind howling between the brownstones. Across the street, standing in one slipper and one bare foot, my neighbor Todd looked like he was watching his own funeral. He was trembling, and it wasn't just from the cold. It was the realization that his arrogance had just cost him a transmission, a $300 ticket, and his dignity. I took a sip of my hot cocoa, standing in my dark living room window, and raised the mug in a silent toast. He saw me. He definitely saw me. And for the first time in the 3 years we've lived next to each other, Todd didn't have a damn thing to say. To understand why I felt zero guilt watching a grown man cry in the snow, you have to understand the unwritten laws of a Chicago winter. When the hawk comes off the lake and buries the city in 2 feet of concrete heavy slush, civilization breaks down. We revert to a primitive state. It's every man for himself, except for one sacred rule, the rule of dibs. If you shovel it, you own it. The storm hit yesterday afternoon. It was a monster. The weatherman called it a historic event, which is code for, your back is going to feel like broken glass tomorrow. By 5 p.m., the plows had boxed every car on the street in with a 4-foot wall of ice and road sludge. I spent 2 hours out there. My shovel was a cheap plastic thing that bent every time I hit the ice layer, so I had to use a metal garden spade to chip away at the glacier encasing my Honda Civic. My lungs burned from the freezing air. My beard was caked in icicles. My fingers were numb inside my gloves. But I did it. I cleared a pristine 10x8 rectangle of asphalt. It was a thing of beauty, a sanctuary in the chaos. I moved my car slightly to make sure the edges were clean. Then I realized I was out of rock salt and milk. I needed to make a run to the Jewel-Osco before the roads got completely impassable. This is the moment of truth in any snowstorm. You have to leave the spot you just broke your spine creating. I went to the garage and grabbed the chair. Everyone has one. Mine is a rusted, metal folding chair from the 1980s with a faded Bulls sticker on the back. It's ugly, it's heavy, and it sends a clear message. I bled for this spot. Do not touch. I placed the chair dead center in the cleared space. I even piled a little snow on the leg so the wind wouldn't blow it over. I looked at it one last time, satisfied that the International Treaty of Parking Rights was in effect, and drove off. The trip took 40 minutes. The roads were a disaster, just endless lines of cars spinning their wheels and sliding through intersections. I got my milk, my eggs, and a 40-pound bag of salt. I was fantasizing about a hot shower and a whiskey. I turned onto my street. My headlights cut through the falling snow, scanning for my driveway. And then I saw it. A massive, white Range Rover. It was gleaming under the streetlights, looking like it had just rolled off the showroom floor. And it was parked in my spot. My stomach dropped. I hit the brakes, sliding a little as I came to a stop parallel to the SUV. I looked for the chair. Maybe he moved it to the side. Maybe he didn't see it. No, my chair was gone. I scanned the area and saw it 10 feet away, thrown violently atop a massive snowbank. It looked like a broken toy. He hadn't just moved it. He'd launched it. I felt the heat rising in my neck, a physical pressure building behind my eyes. This wasn't just a stolen spot. This was a declaration of war. I looked up at the house directly across from the spot. Todd's house. The lights were on in the living room. And there he was. Todd. He was standing in the bay window, holding a glass of wine. He was wearing a beige cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my first car. He saw me idling in the street. He saw me looking at his car, then at my chair, then at him. He didn't hide. He didn't look ashamed. He smiled. A slow, greasy smirk. Then, he raised his free hand and gave me a little wave. Not a friendly wave. A shooing motion. Move along, peasant. He tapped his wrist, mouthing something that looked a lot like, too bad. I gripped the steering wheel so hard the leather creaked. I wanted to get out. I wanted to pound on his door and scream until the police came. I wanted to key his pristine white paint job, but I didn't. Because as I stared at his bumper, sitting perfectly aligned with the curb I had painstakingly cleared, I noticed something. The snow was piled 5 feet high on the curb, masking everything. The plows had pushed a mountain of sludge onto the sidewalk. To the untrained eye, to Todd's eye, it was just a parking spot. But I've lived in this house for 10 years. I know every crack in the sidewalk. I know where the sewer grate is. And I know exactly what sits 3 feet to the left of my driveway. I make a phone call that turns Todd's quiet evening into a financial nightmare. We aren't just talking about a ticket here. We're talking about a tow truck driver who doesn't care about all-wheel drive systems, a neighbor who sprints into a blizzard in his pajamas, and a satisfying crunch that signals the death of a luxury transmission. Stay tuned, because the look on his face when the hook chains tighten is worth every second of shoveling. Click here to watch full video.